This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. Don't adjust your screens. Al's suit is exactly how he wants it.
I knew before, you can't be professional even on an important day like
Nope,
today.
you have to go
That's
for
so,
it.
so hurtful.
Also, no one really saw what you looked like on your way into work today.
Oh, is this call Al out there?
Yeah.
Okay. What, Erica, tell the people.
It was this like straw hat.
A sun hat.
It kind of looked like a lampshade.
Yes.
And you were wearing your suit and you had your do-rag that was pulled underneath it.
Got to get the waves right.
And it just looked like, you know, something might have gone wrong and you had to exit quickly.
Okay.
Out.
All right.
Stop, drop, and roll, Al.
I will have my revenge.
We will see it soon, I'm sure. Well, welcome to DBL. If you didn't know, it was another crazy weekend in campaign news, as I'm sure that you've heard. President Biden made the historic decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential race. In a post on Twitter, he said it was the greatest honor of his life to serve and said he'd address the nation later this week. As you can imagine, there were a lot of people reacting to the news, so check out what Van Jones had to say about it on CNN.
Like when your grandpa, you gotta take the keys, and everybody, you gotta take his keys, you gotta take his keys, you gotta, and he's fighting and everybody's so frustrated, and then you finally get the keys back, and then you just cry, because this is somebody that you love, this is somebody that you care about, this is somebody who was there for you, this is somebody you wouldn't be here without him. This is leadership. This is patriotism. This is what it means to put the country first and put the party first and put the cause first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done.
Wow. So former President Trump, of course, is also reacting in a series of posts on social media. He called for Biden to step down immediately and said, quote, "It's not over." He also said, quote, "Biden never had COVID and he is a threat to democracy." All right, so I just
There goes that unity thing.
I was wondering what happened to unity. Out the window. So what do we all think about Biden's big decision to end his candidacy? This was a historic moment in our American politics I doubt we'll ever see again in our lifetime. What do we think?
Well, you know, I will say, just to kind of answer what you said last there, I don't know if this will be the last time we see it in our lifetime, because we seem to be on this track where we have extremely old geriatric presidents. That's not an insult. That's a medical term. When you look at other prime ministers from around the world, they're young. They're in their late 40s, early 50s, 60s. We are biological organisms, and our cells stop dividing as quickly, our synapses stop firing as quickly, and you're not as sharp. And that's okay. It's a beautiful thing. It's a gift to live that long. And so I hope that we can all look at Joe Biden and understand him as a human being, feeling that he wanted to finish this fight, having the stick-to-itiveness to want to do that. It's what got him to where he is, and how he had to override all of that programming to make this decision. So it's an extremely difficult one. I couldn't imagine asking any of our folks that had a profession for 40 years, Mom, I don't think you, imagine having that conversation with Dr. Cobb. Like, I don't think you can be like that. That's tough. And that's a professor. We're talking about somebody that's the leader of the free world. So I recognize the sacrifice and how difficult this was.
Yeah. I just think it was the right decision. You know,
Absolutely.
I think in what we've saw in the last couple of weeks, some people saw it coming longer than that. But just in the last week, 2, 3, when Hollywood turns your back on you, and they're mostly Democratic, you saw it coming. You saw, especially when George Clooney came out.
That was the first domino.
That was the first domino, and then other people started speaking out a little bit. I think this is the best thing for the Democratic Party to step down. As far as the numbers go, though, I don't know if Kamala is...
Kamala.
I knew I was going to say it because I was
soon as
really
we had-
trying. I'm not doing it to insult anybody by any
of
means.
course.
I was really overthinking it. Kamala, like .com. Just
Like a comma.
yeah, so, I wasn't trying to insult anybody. I apologize. But if you strictly go by the polling numbers, I don't know if she is the best choice. Looking at the numbers, again, I'm not someone who agrees with those numbers, but if you are going by those numbers, I don't know if she's the right choice to represent the party.
Well, let's take a look at what she actually said. She just spoke from the White House, and we have that. Let's take a look at that.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office.
Erica, what do you think about all this Biden dropping out. What was your reaction to that?
I don't think we were surprised by it. We were on a group chat, and obviously we were communicating about it. My mom was blowing up my phone. You know, a lot of people were, because, you know, there is a feeling, and everyone keeps saying, we'll see, we'll see. That's all we can do.
Right.
Because there is a feeling that the base for the Democrats can be galvanized enough with just new energy.
Exactly.
Period. Kamala is such an interesting, it's an interesting situation for her, because she has been bubble wrapped and stowed away for 4 years. So the idea of really saying anything bad about her seems like a reach, but saying what she has contributed to in terms of like the overall landscape, because we never see or hear
Right, she
from
was
her,
hidden, right.
that feels far for people.
Right.
So these next 4 months are obviously going to be very important. It's going to be a very interesting rollout. How are they going to do the best job of galvanizing people in order to get to the polls? I do think that the apathetic demographic has been energized.
I completely agree with you.
But in whose favor? I don't know.
We don't know. Well, let's talk about Harris here. Now that Biden has dropped out, all eyes are, as we said, are on VP Kamala Harris, who is officially running. So check out this Time magazine cover. It shows Harris walking in, Biden exiting
That's
the
a cool
page.
cover.
They had one last month of him just leaving because he was wandering. So this is actually a sequel to that cover. It's really cool. In a tweet, Kamala thanked Biden for his leadership and decades of service. She also said it's her intention to earn and win the nomination. Endorsements for her have been pouring in, including from Biden and other high-powered Democrats. The party has also pulled in, get this, more than $50 million in donations since she made her announcement yesterday. Mm-hmm. That is an enormous feat, I think, compared to, only once in 2020. What do we think of Kamala running, and is she being anointed? Go ahead, Erica.
Well, I do have to say this, that $50 million were not from big donors.
Correct.
That $50 million was a culmination of very small donations, which I feel like really says something about people's feelings about her running.
I do have to say, someone tweeted me also about this, that in a Zoom call organized by the group Win with Black Women
Yes.
Support, they attracted 40,000 Black women. Participants expressed readiness and enthusiasm to support her candidacy, making a historic mobilization
Yes.
of Black women for her political win.
And if we think about, you know,
energy.
First of all, I was going to King of Wings yesterday here in Denver.
I love King of Wings.
It was amazing.
It's so good.
And my girl and I were discussing this, and I said, if Kamala can galvanize the same group of Black women that Stacey Abrams was able to, that literally turned Georgia from a red state to a purple state to a blue state. Do you understand what that would mean? Even saying that 10 years ago would have been ludicrous. It shows that there is, we saw it in South Carolina as well.
Absolutely.
This
it helped win Biden the election.
Very much so. You
Yeah.
can argue that it did.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very interested to see if she's going to tap into different kind of parts of the Democratic Party that have remained dormant because of apathy.
Yeah.
Well, I told you that I was speaking with my mother a lot yesterday. That was the root of what we were speaking about. When we say it's what is remained to be seen, it's not about what's remained to be seen. It's actually what happened in the moment within the hour.
Yeah, exactly. And to see 50 million, I thought I read it wrong. I thought it was 5, and I said, no, the 50 million
the
she
50
raised. I was like, oh my God. I do want to show you, a MAGA PAC has an ad already out against Harris. They must have known. I want to play that for you right now. Take a look.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant, and I have no doubt about the strength of the work that we have done.
But Kamala knew Joe couldn't do the job, so she did it. Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess. Kamala owns this failed record.
So they're putting it all in.
Kamala Harris is over the housing crisis?
Yeah.
I didn't see her in that movie, The Big Short. I didn't see that at all. I feel like we don't talk, these horrific things happen to our economy, and then we don't talk about it, and 10 years later we blame whatever president. The reason our houses are in crisis is for 2 years because we tricked a lot of people into those balloon mortgage payments.
Subprime mortgages,
a lot of
that's right.
people lost their homes, and because of that, people stopped building homes. And now that we have recovered to some extent, there's not as many homes, and we've allowed allowed major corporations to suck up a lot of those homes, and so they can jack up the price to whatever they want. That's why nobody really knows anybody that can buy a home. Remember in 2005 when like a regular person could?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I don't know if that's Kamala,
Right, but
I'm sure there'll be
right.
some YouTube documentaries explaining how it's just her at the top of the pyramid.
She's the one. But I do
Yes.
think she will have to talk about the border. And she will have to
Absolutely.
face that against the MAGA pack, for sure. Coming up on DBL, we're going to continue that conversation on the big election shakeup. We're going to talk about who Kamala could pick as her running mate. Plus, an amazing moment. Have you all seen this? At a pageant, when it goes viral, how this contestant called out her alleged abuser on stage. All right, welcome back to DBL. So we're continuing our conversation, as are you guys in the YouTube chat. Thank you for that, about VP Kamala Harris' run for the White House. If she does end up being the Democrats' nominee, who should be her pick to be the running mate? I want to go around the horn, as Jeff likes me to say.
I'm going to reverse it around the horn because I'm not really sure who
Fair.
a lot of these people are.
Perfect, I appreciate it.
You've been
I know
in Mexico.
Buttigieg, I know a bunch. Yeah, I've been in Mexico.
Yeah,
I
good
was
for you.
off the grid. I shut my phone off, which was
Sitting
amazing.
on the dock of the bay. In Mexico.
I don't think that has anything to do with Mexico.
I was trying to bring some Mexican vibe.
No, but that's not a Mexican.
I was just water. I know it's Reading. I
There's
am
water.
Could
aware.
have been like,
75% of the globe is water.
All right, so who's your pick, Tori?
All
Let's
right.
get back on
Well,
track.
does anyone else want to go? Because I got a list I was going to go through with things. Anyone else want to pick?
We've been texting.
Yes, we have.
And I also, my mom, the first thing she texted was, "Oh my gosh, this news. Tori's got to be like freaking out right now." Knows how much you love politics.
I am.
I thought about the Pete Buttigieg and the conversation we had about that. And anytime I talk about the Democratic Party, I say one of the issues that we face is that it's so much diversity within our party that it becomes whose needs are going to be prioritized.
Fair.
And that creates a level of infighting that the Republicans simply don't have because their
Homogenized
interests
in
are
a way.
more homogenized.
Right.
And, you know, the population is more homogenized. So I think we go all in with Pete Buttigieg.
Ooh, we got a Buttigieg vote.
I mean, first of all, I know you're looking at me like, all right, we have a woman of color, and we all know how racist and misogynist this country is.
I'm not saying all that, but it's
also know
enough
how homophobic this country is.
Let's call it out. Let's keep it real.
But I think we go completely polar. I think we step into our truths of diversity
Thank you.
and amplification, and we put Buttigieg on the ticket.
Ooh, by the way, he's an Army. J.D. Vance is a Marine. One went to Harvard, one went to Yale. They could fight each other, same age. It would be a fabulous debate. Those two.
Debate,
fight
not
each
fight
other.
each other.
I meant debate. I mean debate.
You were trying to get Dana White involved.
No, a UFC. No, not at all. But they both really could. I could easily enjoy that. I do want to get to the list really quickly, and I want to know what you think about this.
Yeah,
so first up, I'm interested in Whitmer. Now she gets us Michigan. We need the middle of the country. We need the Rust Belt. But as Erica said, 2 women on a ticket is very hard in this misogynistic, sexist way. So I think that might not work. Next up, my #1 favorite and the closest to Obama I've seen, that is Pete Buttigieg. I completely agree with you. He is the best orator, the best arguer, and he could kill it when it comes to debates. Now, again, I'm worried about the homophobic take. A lot of people writing in about Josh Shapiro. If you haven't heard of him, you will. Governor of Pennsylvania. We desperately need this state. He is well loved. He is a fighter, but Jewish. And people are anti-Semitic, and so Kamala Harris's husband, also Jewish. That's a lot of Jews, and I'm saying that as a Jewish woman in the administration. Next up, North Carolina, Roy Cooper. People really like him. That's kind of a goofy picture. But he's well-liked and gives us some of the Rust Belt. Gavin Newsom is someone that everybody's talking about. But as Jeff has said on the show, he's a bit slick, and I really think he hasn't done a lot in certain parts of California, and I certainly think he doesn't poll well in the Rust Belt at all, Newsom. So here's what I think the ticket should be, although I want it to be Buttigieg. Here's what I think they'll do. I think they're going to come up with Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Now, if you don't know who this is, he is the astronaut. He had a twin who's also an astronaut. He's a senator of Arizona. He's married to Gabby Giffords, who was also shot in an assassination attempt. He's a very optically, it fits with what America wants, the white straight male, which I hate to say, but optically this gives us as a hero a lot of energy as a Harris Kelly ticket.
Right. I mean, look, for as much as we want to pretend like this is all about politics, a lot of it is about optics and what you've done in being an astronaut, just like brings back some 1950s vibes, like, oh, he's a hero. People,
not 1950. Jeff wants to talk about the moon every day.
Oh, yeah, Jeff's not on board. But
I got some questions.
whether McCain ran on this, a lot of people run on their military service.
Absolutely.
If you played pro sports, whatever it is. So I think Mark Kelly would be good, especially for making sure that Arizona stays in play for the Democrats, because right now it is not.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Zoot Suit Riot. Coming up on DBL, a pageant queen's campaign against domestic violence goes viral. Wait until you see how she called out her alleged abuser, who was in the audience. Welcome back to DBL. The newly crowned Miss Kansas has gone viral for an extraordinary moment of bravery during the pageant. Everybody, if you're not at the TV screen, look at it now.
My vision as the next Miss Kansas is to eliminate unhealthy and abusive relationships. Matter of fact, some of you out in this audience saw me very emotional because my abuser is here today. But that's not going to stop me from being on this Miss Kansas stage and from representing as the next Miss Kansas.
Whew. So Alexis Smith, who is 25 years old, says every single woman in her family has been impacted by domestic violence and says she first experienced an abusive relationship at age 14. It doesn't say here in the script she went on to win the Miss Kansas pageant. If it did say that, I apologize, but I did want people to know that. What do we think of her calling out her alleged abuser while he was in the audience? Erica.
Protect her at all costs, for starters. I mean, I think it was an amazingly strong and obviously very viral moment.
Yeah.
But what she's describing is not only domestic abuse, but it's also stalking.
I was just going to tell you that.
So this is someone who will go out of their way in order to ensure that this person cannot escape him.
Yeah.
I appreciate her talking about the need to talk about domestic violence in our communities, because a lot of times you're just a part of a cycle, as she mentioned, that her mother, her grandmother, every woman in her family had been a part of, and no one really talks about because it's so normalized. I hope that this is an opportunity for her to step into her power, be free of someone who is obviously very volatile towards her.
Sure.
And also liberate a lot of other people on the way.
I know. Al, what do you think about this at this point, too? When you sort of saw her fearful and then sort of come into it as she said it. She sort of grew wings as she said it, I thought. What did you think?
I think what we saw right there is the power of community and knowing that you're not the only one.
Right.
I mean, before, when we look at cases, sometimes me and my girl are watching the Scooter Braun, Taylor Swift thing. And, they go back to 2009. Even back then, there weren't these communities for that. I mean, obviously the Rihanna situation, but there weren't places where people openly talked about the trauma that women go through, that people go through, sexual abuse that everyone goes through. These were not things that were on the table even 10, 15 years ago. It was not discussed. And so the idea that this woman now knows that there are communities on TikTok, on YouTube, in real life.
Standing behind her.
They're all around her. And
Yeah.
I'm sure feeling comfortable to talk in real time with real people. Like, that happened to you, that happened to me. These kinds of conversations. And I feel like all of that is what emboldens people to speak out. It's not kind of this movie moment at the end where somebody just speaks. It takes years of being like, I will be safe coming out and saying this.
Yeah. I just wonder if there's legal ramifications for like pointing the person out. Because if I had something horrific as that done to me, I would make it known, so it doesn't happen again. So I don't know if she saw him directly or like pointed him out, but I would have pointed the finger at him.
And how crazy that he went. Like, what kind of
It's not crazy. That's stalking. I
And
agree.
see, your reaction there?
Yeah, not crazy at all.
It's
Not only
so
to
sad.
intimidate her, but to intimidate her support system.
Totally, absolutely. And I can be where you are at the highest level. I can still
The
be
fact
there.
that you guys both reacted like that is
Not crazy
really,
at all.
it's really sad.
Yeah, she is one of the most relatable
Reality.
pageant people I've ever seen. We'll be right back. We have a really good comment here from Just Me's Fun Hub. They said the country wasn't ready for a black president or a woman vice president. Now people are saying the country isn't ready for a gay VP. Go figure. We could make it happen if enough people mobilize.
I'm not saying we're not ready.
I know.
I'm saying on the same ticket. It's a tough ask.
I hope we can do it. Let's see.
I wish I was
see you
wrong.
same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, guys.